What is surprisingly still legal in 2019? According to this source, in Calgary, if released from prison, it is required that you are given a handgun with bullets and a horse, so you can ride out of town. I understand that shouldn't be a thing, but that is kinda badass. I imagine there was a time where, if you didn't have those things, your chances of ending up dead or back in prison were pretty high. Or they just wanted recently released prisoners out of town. The big shiny download button, which is really not the download button, and when clicked, takes you to this page, which claims that my Mac has been infected by a virus and now I need to download their software to save it. Always gotta hover your mouse over all 6 download buttons to check the URLs. It's so annoying. From my experience, the real download button is almost always the least flashy one. A bit like Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail, but then boring. You have downloaded wisely. The real download is the malware we installed along the way. Telemarketing. On top of political, I got on some list and get 25/week asking if I want to sell my house. GRRR. For real. Telemarketing was absolutely out of control in the late 90s. Then they introduced the no-call lists, which helped but didn't solve the problem. Then people switched to cell phones and ditched landlines, and for a while I thought the problem was pretty much solved. Now I get like a dozen scam-likely calls a day and the FCC doesn't do speep about it. I've cut down a lot of these by blocking numbers as they come in. Hasn't solved the problem obviously, since they are always new or fudged, but I'd say in 5 years of blocking they've gone down by 90%. I also answer as a business. It seems to scare them off a little. Government agency too. I'll answer mine as Department of Investigative Inquiry, Fraud and Scam Unit. I work for a state agency and I get robocalls to my desk phone at least once a week. Maybe it only works if you say something like FBI. No one is intimidated by the state pension fund. Tax people will chase you down and peep you up. I'd rather take my chances with the FBI. Civil forfeiture, in which the government can take your assets if you're just suspected of a crime, under the pretense that said assets were related to the crime. Charges may never be filed, but the assets may be kept. If you can't definitively prove that the assets were not involved in any crime, you essentially have to prove your assets' innocence in order to get them back. Guilty until proven innocent. Alright, you're innocent, but your speep is guilty AF. The argument is literally we're taking legal action against your stuff. Your stuff doesn't have constitutional protections like people do. That's how we end up with such classics as United States v. Article consisting of 50,000 cardboard boxes more or less, each containing one pair of clackables. 000 cardboard boxes more or less, each containing one pair of clacker balls. I didn't realize legal titles could be a source of humor. Thank you for this. The more or less part is what does it for me. It's like the guy in charge of counting everything was just like screw it, close enough. Only having 10 minutes with an attorney if you can't afford a lawyer. That is a budget problem and is really terrible. Public defenders' offices all over the country are overworked and underfunded. Not that it makes it okay, but that 10 minutes is better than nothing. Scalping. Particularly the large-scale schemes perpetuated by Ticketmaster or artists in an attempt to make a few extra dishonest bucks. For a second I thought you meant taking the scalps of natives and turning them in for a bounty lol. Lol. Yeah. Pretty sure you'd get in a bit of trouble for that. Internet provider monopolies. Looking at you, Canada. Herbalife. In my opinion, the whole industry should be banned. MLM is illegal, just poorly enforced. I believe John Oliver did a piece on it. Edit. Multilevel marketing. Friends and family almost got roped in by these crap pyramid scheme bullspeep companies. John Oliver segment on it. Thanks you /Mr. Meat 50. MLM is not illegal. Pyramid schemes are. Federal laws and regulations differentiate between the two. MLMs. My wife got invited to one of these presentations. It came with a free breakfast bar. We both know it's BS, but I was jealous that I couldn't go for the entertainment since I had work. She was updating me the whole time. Took over 1 hour and 45 minutes until they mentioned the product. Some sort of aloe vera drink that is miraculous. Even sillier since it grows wildly around here everywhere. Had a roommate that was selling Monavie. That speep was like 40 or 50 / bottle. They were touting how it had all these juice superfoods and that's why it was so expensive. I did some searching and found you could end up with about the same variety of superfoods if you bought 3 different flavors of naked juice. Now, granted, the naked juices were 10/EA, so you'd been in 30. But you also now had 3x more juice for like 10 to 15 less. A college classmate of mine went all in for MV. I mean, every FB post was about this stupid juice and how it changed his life and his wife's life. Ugh. I mentioned it to him, and he unfriended me. I don't miss him, because it was like living in an infomercial. Talking to this guy. For-profit prisons. 100 years after they finally end, they'll be looked upon with the same horror we look at, say, using children as chimney sweeps. My state outlawed them. Yay, Colorado. Kids using tanning beds. Some states in the US. Tanning beds some states in the US. Cancer coffins. Child pageants. There's always a diddler involved at some point. I wouldn't do it with anybody younger than my daughter, and no little kids. Got to be big. Older than my wife. Older than my daughter. Ads with fake X buttons. Being an elderly driver. No, I do not mean 85-year-old people who are borderline. In 2019 in the US you could be 107 and bedbound with a still legitimate driver's license. You can't walk, but you can still cruise around in your 2002 Mercury if you want. What's interesting to me is that, if someone keeps practicing driving at a high level they can keep going basically, until they die, yet so many elderly people don't put in an effort leading to them slowly declining in skill, until they can't even commute safely. There's a 93-year-old that does club races at our local track, which is rated one of the most dangerous tracks in the world and he does it year after year without incident. He's old enough that he has to get a physical/mental checkup every 6 months to keep his racing license. I only have to do that every 5 years. That's pretty much my dad. He's 84 and raced his entire life. I guarantee he's more attentive and has more driving ability than 99% of people on the road. There are exactly 2 things in the world everyone unanimously agrees they are above average at, and those things are driving and laser tag. I'm actually not very good at the shooting part of laser tag. That's why I always bring a knife. Child marriage in the US. This is true in most of the world. I have loved ones who were engaged to be married at the ages of 8 and 11. It's not right or appropriate, but it has always been the case in the vast majority of countries during the vast majority of centuries that children are married. It's not just the United States. It's honestly the entire world except for maybe 6 or 8 countries where it doesn't happen. Even in countries where it is illegal, it still happens for religious and cultural reasons every day. Somebody asked which in countries child marriage doesn't happen, but deleted the question. These are my guesses. Liechtenstein, Iceland, Monaco. In other words, probably very small countries with a pretty unified but small culture. Depends what is meant by child really. The age is 16 in the UK with parents' consent and is rare. But then 16 is the age of consent. You can move out into a house, get a job etc. So fits in with that. 12 would be a different matter entirely. Selling a college textbook for $200. And then not binding it like a book. _ I just found out my statistics book near end of semester BTW shows how much IFP pine needed. It has no binding, but is 3-hole punched. 900 FP pine papers unbound that they sold me, and have the audacity to expect me to buy a binder for a book. We have book bags. That's where books go. They shouldn't need a FP pine binder. They should already be bound. Pharmaceutical advertisements. And yet if a sales rep gives so much as a free pen to a doctor, it is considered a stark violation. $3 million Super Bowl commercial advertising to beer drinking 20 to 30-year-olds. Perfect. Wait, really? What about the free lunches every single day from the farm reps? The one thing they can legally do. Same as every other business. Very strict how they watch even that. Need the names and signatures of every person that accepts a cookie or burrito. Not compliant with that? Get a letter from the Dodge. Pugs. Breeding pugs. Those poor animals go through so much pain, literally living is suffering. Overbred, overmutated. There needs to be license or temp breeding ban on them. Any breeding farms really. Pugs are just one of the more extreme examples. We adopted a pug after her owner died. She always had breathing issues and would get breathless after a few minutes walking. We gave her the best life we could, and she lived to be 14, which is a pretty good age for a pug. Poor thing died of a heart attack in the end. Edit. I should also defend her previous owner. She was an unwanted pet and the owner took her in and cared for her. That pug was devastated when she passed away. Don't forget puppy mills. People want puppies. So pet stores buy pups and the ones that don't get sold are shipped off to the pound to make room for newer puppies. While slavery is illegal, there is still a huge amount of things which we buy that are produced by slaves or by people paid a tiny wage, but who are essentially still slaves in all but name. I really wish that there was some kind of law in place to punish the sale of goods produced by slavery, child labor, or workers without adequate pay and adequate rights.